Good day. Reed here, Conductor Orchestra Farm. Back at the farm. Hearing some frogs in the distance. Finally cleared up all this black tarp over the blueberries. Brought down a giant bag full of pine needles, I guess, because the blueberries love acidity. Checking in on a bunch of things today. Barb that I planted on Thursday evening, I guess. It's looking actually pretty good. Pretty stoked on that. And I'm thinking today, I woke up thinking about this morning, about addiction. And chatted with my brother over the weekend and mentioning to him that I haven't smoked in just about 3 months now. And I hadn't touched alcohol that much in that time either. And I recall this thing I heard George Clinton speak to, Parliament Funkadelic, all-star right there, and the notion that if you're struggling with addiction, one of the things is to keep whatever you're struggling with on you at all times. He was evidently addicted to crack, and so he would keep a crack rock around his neck in a little glass jar. Because if you can't be around it, then you really have a problem. It's his philosophy. And I was just like, that actually sounds really amazing from like a personal strength standpoint. In the way of like, yeah, if you can't be around something, that's a real problem. Compared to like your ability to say no to things is an attribute. And I personally believe it's better to have attributes than problems. And so if I'm struggling with something, how can I turn it into an attribute? And then I was thinking as I was chatting with my wife about this, that like, a physical addiction to a substance, that's actually a pretty easy thing to identify. And how there's actually a lot of addictions that go very much unnoticed, like psychological addictions, emotional addictions. You can be addicted to fear or anxiety. This notion of like, I feel like there's a lot of people feel like the world is just going to shit. And they are constantly preparing for the next disaster thing to happen. And, that's like their motivating factor. They're all wound up on that. And they never relax and enjoy life in a way where that sensitivity to having all of this emotion running through their body is there. You can easily also be addicted to like adrenaline rushes and just chasing those. And this question of like, what makes it an addiction? Well, is it causing you and or others harm? Because if it is, then it's more of an addiction. Because I think that you can use whatever substance or acknowledge, that the world could go sideways and take appropriate courses of action for all those things and still be relaxed and live a good life and be a positive support structure in other people's reality. And so with that, there's also a sense of this like being a strong person in that realm of like George Carlin being able to carry around a crack rock, and the notion that like, yeah, if you are constantly having to separate yourself out from people or situations because you're triggered and or it's just your impulsivity to utilize whether it's a substance or an emotion, or maybe you're a workaholic and you just can't stop yourself from working too much, and that's actually taking you away from your family and being present with things, or any number of things can be addictive. Like food can be an addiction. The list goes on and on. I'm sure you're all aware of it. And certainly don't want to deny myself food. And But this question of like, oh, I really want to be around strong people who, when they set their mind to something, are doing it, and that when they need help, can ask for it, and in that have the ability of self-determination and self-discipline and self-motivation to make things happen, even if you're also interested in having accountability with others. Like this video process, as a for instance, I mostly started so that I could demonstrate that it's possible to make regular content and still, oh, there's motherwort. Look at this happy little motherwort plant. And do that on a regular occurring basis. Because I saw a couple different people in my life struggling to do that. And it's amazing how much I've found that, like, oh, when I see other people struggling to do something, sometimes that's actually motivation for me to do a thing. Just to see, like, how hard of a struggle is it to do those things. And, you know, I don't know, a week or two or something ago, I passed the 200 video mark. I was like, I can't hardly believe this. I've been making these videos and I've almost come to enjoy the process. I say almost because I think it's important to acknowledge that I don't every day know what I want to talk with you about. I definitely have a lot of things I'd like to talk about, and the piece of, I think it's also important to try to be vulnerable with you, to acknowledge, like, no, these things aren't going well, these other things are going well. Like, here's this pile of mulch hay, which you can see is growing, and so I'm putting it in that way far out section where I'm trying to raise the earth up, and that's just taking my sweet time with it. I don't really have enough time to do all the things I want to be doing. And this year, that's one of my assessments, is like, what are the things I'm doing? How much time are they actually taking? Where do I want to be spending my time? Where do I need to be spending my time? And what are the things holding me back in those regards? And what are the things encouraging me forward with those? And is there any addictive habit or pattern in there for me from living my best life, living a rich life, a life in my fullest, wealthiest way? So I'm asking you, what's going on with you? Where are your addictive patterns coming into play? And what relationships are suffering because of that? And what are you going to do to change that? What are you going to do to change it today? Like, let's not beat around the bush. Tomorrow's not promised to any of us. We could all die any second now. And I find it's healthy to live with that reminder that I can die at any moment. And it causes me to really live my life, to get out there and make things happen. And to, even when I'm scared of whatever the thing might be, to just go ahead and do it anyway. And I think that's some good motivation, personally. So I'm wondering, what's your motivation? What do you want to do? What are you trying to accomplish in this life? What are you planning to leave behind when you're gone? And what's it going to take for you to get out of your way and do the next things? With that, I got to get to work, everybody. Hope you're having a great day out there. Remember to subscribe to this channel. Thanks so much for watching these videos. Super appreciate it. Love to hear what's going on with you. And have too much fun.